Welcome to the Sci-Fi Center, the place to be, where comic books and wrestling collide magically. Movies, TV shows, and pop culture we share. Get ready to rock, we're here to take you there. From superheroes to aliens in outer space, we've got the latest news and reviews in our embrace. Turn on your screen, let the neon lights glow. We'll take you back to the 80s. Let's rock and roll. Sci-Fi Center, where the legends come alive. Get ready to geek out, let your imagination thrive. We're diving into the past with a touch of modern flair. Sci-Fi Center, the ultimate pop culture lair.
Happy Thursday, March 27th, 2025. And what in the beginning of the WrestleMania era used to be WrestleMania weekend. Back when I was a kid, or a teenager, WrestleMania would be on the last Sunday of March or the first first weekend of April. Lately, the last maybe 10 or 15 years, it's been the actually since about maybe 20 years, it's been the first, roughly the first week of April. But now we got it going on the 19th. But yeah, March 27th used to always be WrestleMania. And then when WrestleMania would happen, Clash of the Champions, a whole bunch of other wrestling things would happen. So the one good thing about WrestleMania, even if you're like me and the WWE product is just not, doesn't do it for me all the way, it brings out a lot of other wrestling shows and promotions that end up using the sun that is WWE to highlight their own things, and which is cool. So let's see. I don't like the way that looks. I'll be glad when I have a new background. So let's go up here. There we go. Better. All right. So this is an open topic. It's not going to be too long today. Didn't want to go Thursday without a stream. We covered a lot of what we're going to be covering, this week, last night, and then this weekend we have our BBS fundraiser that's going to happen this Saturday afternoon, probably around 2:00. I was supposed to make that event last night, but I'll make it after this show, and then we have our normal show. This week's topics are pretty much already nailed down. We're going to be talking Batman 158, Hush. That was a big seller that came out this week, and man, I've already sold out, and I got more coming in tomorrow. So we're gonna go over that. Let's see. I had my topics written down for me. Okay, we're going to talk about the 20th anniversary of Star Wars, Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith. We're going to go over Martian Manhunter, Absolute Martian Manhunter, that just came out this Wednesday, and Absolute Wonder Woman 6, which also came out. So we're going to be talking a lot of DC. We may or may touch on the 9th anniversary of BBS if the topic doesn't annoy me, which lately it has. Other than that, I got some other stuff. I haven't got our music topic yet for Saturday, but I'll come up with one. The music topic is more of a feeling to me than any plan. So, all right, can a film like American X, History X, or Romper Stomper be made today? Yeah. Yep. I don't see any issues there. I mean, it's controversial, but it's a movie, so I don't think you'd have too many issues getting that made. Hello, Duckman. Hi, how you doing, Aaron? Now, Now, I'm not going to be doing too many open panels. Um, like I said, I just don't, the way when I rewatch these shows, the open panels are painful, guys. We will still do them, but they're not going to be as frequently as we were doing them before. Let's just say the show goes off the rails in ways that I don't really like when we have them. So we might have one every now and then, but they're not going to be as frequent as they were. How you doing, Travis? How you doing? Long time no see. What am I looking more forward on the Mania card? The Roman Reigns, CM Punk, Seth Rollins match. The John Cena. I am looking forward to seeing what happens with John Cena and why can I? John Cena, Cody Rhodes. I think the best singles match though is going to be Jey Uso and Gunther. And I wouldn't be surprised to see Gunther drop the title that night. I think Cena is going to win his 17th title on WrestleMania Sunday. Also, the last few WrestleManias, the women's match really has stolen the show. So I'm Tiffany Stratton. But in order, I'm going to go with the three-way between CM Punk, Roman Reigns, and Seth Rollins. After that, it's going to be Jey Uso versus Gunther. And then Tiffany Stratton versus Charlotte Flair. Now, the Io Sky match, Io Sky, Bianca Belair, there's going to be some twists and turns in that match. So those are my matches. After that, it's all undercard. I really don't think we need 2 days for WrestleMania. I know during COVID it was tough, and I know Wrestle Kingdom and New Japan did it, but even Wrestle Kingdom has gone back to one night. There's just not enough good matches to fill 2 nights of WrestleMania. Sorry. But yeah, those are going to be the ones I'm looking forward to. Let's see. Too Sweet. Yep. Bullet Club. I think Bullet Club is coming back. I think there's going to be something that goes on. I think Gabe Kidd is going to end up getting turned on. But yeah, I think they're going to be doing something with AEW and Bullet Club pretty soon here. What Marvel announcement do I think we'll see? I think you're going to see more casting. Because that's not all the casting we like. We covered that like that's nowhere near all the casting that they got going. I think you're going to see another trailer for Fantastic Four. What else? Maybe some announcements from Spider-Man 4, but that's about it. Mainly announcements. They could show you some footage from but D23. When is D23 this year? Hold on, let me figure out when D23, because if it's depending on what it is, you might not see a lot. Hold on. D23 2025. Okay, so this is August 29th. So it's gonna be about Avengers and Doomsday and those type of announcements. Maybe some info on Spider-Man. But yeah, because both of their movies, their main movies for this year will already be released. You're already going to have Thunderbolts already be out. Fantastic Four will already be out. So it's really tough for me to track D23 simple because they don't always make it a theme. Sometimes they're light on the comic book stuff and they use D23 as their Disney proper stuff. So I don't know. But I would think if it's the comic book stuff, that's what it would be. Congratulations, CJH. Not everybody makes it to 30. So congratulations on 30 spins around the sun. Happy birthday. What makes films? They've made films like American History X for the last 20 years. They just haven't been as impactful. Yeah, because the world has changed. When you had American History X, the world was not what we are living in right now. A lot of the times the environment that a movie is released in is the impact of the movie. We've grown, we're not as sensitive to certain things and we're aware of a lot of other things. So when you see a movie like that happening in today's times, it's already consistent with a lot of stuff that's going on. We're not as shocked as we were back then. I don't know about that. I had tickets to WonderCon, but I sent somebody else to that. So the stuff people worry about today being made today are things that should be made today. Take some of these cowards from the city. Well, here's the thing, though. The problem with that is movies are about making money. They don't do it for free. And if you don't have an audience, it's easy to tell somebody to take a risk, but they have to have an audience, or you're not just risking content, you're risking people's money. So how you doing, Azteca? Yeah, Clive Revell. I just saw that as I was coming in. For those of you who don't know, he did the voice of the Emperor. If you watch Empire Strikes Back, that's not Ian McDermott. That's an old lady with some weird looking goggles on. But the voice, when you first see the Emperor in the hologram of Empire Strikes Back, that's Clive Revell, and he just passed away today. I think Jay's going to win the belt. I think that could end up being the best match. What's the lineup right now for WrestleMania? Hold on, because I have to be honest with you. It sucks because it's here in Vegas, but I've been paying attention to everything else. All right. WrestleMania 41 here in sunny Las Vegas. All right, so far here's we have Cody Rhodes versus John Cena, Tiffany Stratton versus Charlotte Flair, Gunther versus Jey Uso, Io Sky versus Rhea Ripley, Bianca Belair. That's going to be a really good match. Io Sky never lets me down. Randy Orton versus Kevin Owens. I was okay with this feud, but I think it's gone on too long. Roman Reigns versus CM Punk versus Seth Rollins. That's really all the matches that are on the card so far. So I'm assuming there's going to be. Then that's not enough matches to fill a card. So I'm assuming that they're going to have a tag team title match. Card subject to change. So yeah, that's a really light card, and we're 3 weeks away. Hold on, let me see if there's a more detailed card here, because those are the main matches. Yep, that's it. Yep, not too many matches right now, but that could change. I mean, you have literally between Raw and SmackDown, you have 6 shows to build up. Yep, the Emperor. Captain Charisma, do you think that they'll have a big actor debut in the next Avengers films, like Ryan Gosling, Dwayne Johnson? They could. They definitely could. I mean, the Molecule Man is part of the Secret Wars, the original Secret Wars mythos, so I could see it. It's really hard to track what they're doing because they have so many people in this. This could go so many different directions, and all of them are going to be hard to predict. As far as The Rock being in MCU, I have heard nothing about that, but it wouldn't shock me. Damn, I saw earlier today. Okay, yeah, you guys are talking about. Yeah, I think John Cena wins. I don't know how long he's going to hold the belt. He could hold it to Survivor Series. They could get a lot of mileage out of it. Let's see. Yeah, triple threat for the women's title, which means Io Sky is going to be jumping off of all kinds of stuff. I'm hearing rumblings we may see a revival of the Badass Lucha Underground. That would be nice. I didn't like the way that ended. I was watching the 80s Dune, and it's a little dated, but it fills in the gaps of the Dune movies. I don't think I could put myself through that again. I finally want to go to the theaters. I want to see Paul Thomas Anderson one battle after another. Let me know how that is. I'll probably end up passing on that. Not because I don't like him, but I just don't have time. I want to go see A Working Man, but man, my schedule is just not allowing me. Is the Snow White movie that bad? I couldn't tell you. I'm never going to see it. I've heard mixed. I've heard some people just really hate it, and I've heard some people who thought it was fine, but I couldn't tell you. I'll be back in the theater for Ryan Coogler's Sinners next month. Yeah, I'm definitely going to be there for that. I think Spider-Man 4 news will be at CinemaCon because it's Sony. That could happen. At least casting, because I don't think they've started filming yet. I think Cena wins the title run to December. People in Boston, which could be Starrcade, and have Cody win to retire Cena in the cage match for history reasons. Oh, because of Starrcade. Yeah. CGH, do you think MCU soft reboots with X-Men or Fantastic Four first because of the smart thing to do would be to release the new reboot? No. I don't think they're really not rebooting anything. None of these versions that are going to be reimagined in the MCU were versions that were under Feige's world. And all of those storylines pretty much ran their course. So this is just a new iteration. I think you know, guys, how I feel about the word reboot. It's a horrible word, but it really doesn't apply here because when you see Wolverine in Feige's MCU, that's not a reboot. That's their version. We're not restarting anything. You know, there's different versions of these characters. It's like I don't believe a new Batman movie is a reboot of the franchise because what Chris Nolan did, that ran its course. You're just starting a new one. So I think the word reboot has been so toxic. I would just say reimagining or MCU versions of it. But no, I don't think they will. Well, with Fantastic Four, you're getting an MCU version, and X-Men you're going to get them down the line. I don't know how soon we're going to get X-Men. I don't think Spider-Man is being reimagined. I think Spider-Man, Fantastic Four will be the ones that are the least touched by the realignment of the universes after Secret Wars. Hulk, the older characters that we've already had 12 to 14 years of, I think you're going to start seeing them move away from those versions of the characters. And the other versions that were like the Fox version, you know, the Sony versions, I think those are going to go away entirely. I think you're going to have one sacred timeline that combines everything that they've ever wanted, and then you'll start your storyteller from there. William's bad at filming. I'll film you, William. You lost me already, fourth. Beltray, what's going on, man? William, thought of Avengers Doomsday casting out entries 275 digital views, the biggest live stream ever in Marvel Studios. That means nothing to me. Like I said, in this era, 5, 6, 7 years ago, when a lot more people were going to the movies, I would say that's a reflection of what it might be for the box office. But there's a lot of people who aren't even going to see the movies that they like. But watching a trailer or not a trailer, or watching a promo is free. I mean, you just have to click on it, and then there it is for you. You know, back in like 2018, 2019, things like that, that would change. You could correlate that to who's going to go see the movie. These days, like I said, with finances being what they are, it could have had 400 million. It doesn't mean that that's going to translate over. Now, that being said, there hasn't been an Avengers movie that has not done well. I don't think we're going to. I don't think this is going to be the first one that doesn't do well. I think it's going to do just fine. But I don't think the 275 million digital views mean anything. I think Avengers is going to do as well as it's going to do because they built that brand. So yeah, I wouldn't. If it had only drawn 150 million views, I would still say Avengers, Doomsday, and Secret Wars are going to do very well because they've built the brand already. So now, when you look at it in regards to Superman, that's a little different because you have brand damage that's been done. So when that's probably a bigger stretch to see if people go, well, they 250 million or whatever saw the Superman trailer. That doesn't mean a majority of those people are actually going to go see the movie. Curiosity is one thing, but I still think that movie will do well enough. But yeah, when I see these views and stuff like that, I try to disconnect it because there's no risk, there's no skin in the game. You invest 2 minutes. And, you could invest 2 minutes and doesn't mean you're going to go see the movie. So, I have not seen the new trailers for Sinners, but I'm already sold on Sinners. So, I mean, there's really, I saw the trailer for Sinners I needed to see. So I'm there. So technically they could do Fantastic Four back to back with X-Men. I don't think they're going to do that. I don't think they have a time. a lot of it's going to depend on how all of this wraps up. If there's even an X-Men to even speak of, or have they assembled yet? Are we talking about a new sacred timeline where the X-Men have already existed and it's a whole new, all different X-Men than we've ever seen? But because of the way the timeline lines up, they've always been there. So, and I theoretically, CGH, you could be 100%, spot on. But I have to see how this all ends first. Who they keep, who they don't keep. I have my theories on how this is going to work. I think you're going to keep Spider-Man, Fantastic Four, but I also think you're going to get a whole new set of mutants from scratch to tell that story with. And everybody else, like the old Avengers and those guys, the Avengers will still be around, but after Secret Wars, I think the focal point will be those 3 franchises. Cody gets his revenge. CM Punk main events next year. Dude, they keep on pushing CM Punk's main event status over and over again. Now, I know he got injured because he was supposed to main event last year, but I don't see any reason for him not to have main evented this year. I'm wondering why that didn't happen. William thought on Doomsday, cast it off. Okay, 5 times social media, the Deadpool doesn't matter for me. Like I said, that doesn't necessarily correlate to all those people going to see the movies. Years ago, it did. But going to the movies is a $125 to $200 adventure. Clicking on a YouTube trailer is free. Could this mean that, yeah, it's going to do bonkers? Yeah, it could. But like I said, I don't see a necessarily connection when it comes to views and things. And you got a lot of YouTubers and people who are watching this 10 and 20 times too. So I watched it the one time because I thought to be honest with you, I thought the promo was kind of lame. And I am so grateful that I wasn't up watching that live because I would have cut out. But just the conversation going, that's what they mean. The triple match has a chance to be the match of the night. CM Punk said it does. It does. It does. Has the most opportunity to be the most compelling one. I still think the women's triple threat match will be better than that. But like I said, they generally haven't let me down. I love Io Sky. Every time she gets in the ring, she's a joy to watch. Yeah, I mean, maybe the promo Azteca. I know not a lot of people thought the promo was dumb because of the way they did it. You know what? It got the word out. It was effective. We're talking about it, so I guess it worked. I thought it was kind of lame, but that's not up to me to determine it's lame. There's a lot of people talking about this movie now, and more people are talking about, well, oh, this person's missing, and that one, they ain't done yet. I think there's too many people in this movie, but you know what? Hey, it's worked for them, so there you go. It's funny that the introduction of the Fantastic Four and X-Men and Dr. Doom has hyped people up more than King. Well, there has been no introduction of the X-Men. I think we're years away from X-Men proper. And the only reason, if Kang had been hyped up alongside of the Avengers, Kang would have had the same exact response. Kang was brought through in lower level stuff that not everybody, you bought Kang in as a B-lister in Ant-Man. That's not top tier Marvel. People don't pay attention to that. And you bought him in on Loki, even though I love Loki. MCU, the majority of MCU's audience is going to be theatrical. So whereas Dr. Doom and everybody else they're bringing him in on an Avengers movie. They're bringing him in on their loudest platform. So and as far as X-Men, there's been no X-Men announcements yet. So I can't really speak on that. I don't think the Doomsday is I think people just thought the promotion, because it was spread over 5 hours. I missed all that. Thank God, because that was lame. Yeah, there's a lot of whining about the MCU, that it's over and all this madness. I'm like, yeah, okay, sure. The difference between the Marvel Cinematic Universe going forward and within the last 3 to 4 years is where are the A-listers? There were the A-listers. Everything that's done mediocre has been C-level and D-level and not high. You may like these shows and characters, but the general audience, they've told you who they want to see over and over again. They want to see the down. That's why Robert Downey Jr., no matter who he plays, is a big deal. That's why if Christopher Evans comes back as anyone, that's a big deal. They want their heavy hitters, and you just haven't been giving them that. So A lot of people are complaining about that, but once again, they've never failed with A-list. Whenever you put an A-list Marvel MCU IP on the screen, it doesn't fail. So. They're at the point where they just add the same names in hopes that people care, and they do. No one's getting tired of RDJ. No one's getting tired of Chris Evans. Nobody's getting tired of So you're right, but it works. What Avengers Doomsday is going to be the next Avengers movie. So episode of Century will make Molecules Man Secret Wars possible. I think I'm against Molecule Man being in live action for the same reasons I'm against the Beyonder. I just when it comes to movies, they're barely stomachable in comic books, but when it comes to movies and the way you write a story in a movie, I don't need a godlike character like that. It just takes away from the writing for me. So. Who could play the Beyonder? Anybody. Hopefully nobody. Last film you saw was Nosferatu? Wow. That was back on Christmas. Secret Wars comes after Doomsday. Yeah, or 616 will still exist, but it'll be the consolidated universe. I don't know what they'll call it. They could still call it 616 because 616 would be the dominant one, I guess, the most familiar one. I'm wondering if 616 is whatever the main universe is, no matter how it's been restructured or reconfigured. If anybody wants to answer that, they could. That's what I'm thinking. I haven't seen too much. Like I said, I was only on the internet long enough to watch it, and then we go from there. But I wasn't there for the 5-hour presentation. That might have rubbed people the wrong way. No, you have them. You have plenty. You have two guys that can play them. You definitely have Tobey Maguire. That would, and like I said, I think it's a damn shame because you had money in those. In Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire after 2021, and you didn't do anything with them. Even if you use them in Secret Wars, it's just a cameo. You could have actually told full-on stories with those, and people would have gone to see them. Neither one of those gentlemen had ever been in a failed Spider-Man movie. All of their movies made over $700 million plus. So I think there's a market for Tobey and Andrew. So hopefully they get used. Oh, you're talking about filming actual stuff? I'm not going to CinemaCon. I passed on WonderCon because of scheduling. And I'm going to San Diego, but I'll have Rhea there to film me. How many movies have made over 100? Ooh, I don't know. I'd have to look that up. Yeah, well, the way COVID hurt movie theaters is it opened up the inevitable. It basically aimed us toward what was going to be inevitable. Streaming was always going to get here in some degree, and streaming was always going to take a significant chunk out of the theater going audience. That was always going to happen. What COVID did is it expedited that. It expedited the inevitable. It was always going to happen now. Let's see. I don't discuss it on this show, forth because I'm not a gamer. I love the show though. Are you talking about? I don't know if you're talking about the game or the show, but I love the show. I will be watching. I will be watching season 2. We might even do watch alongs with season 2. Nah, I don't think that ever happened. I don't think TNA would ever be involved in that. They're not even for sale. So. Deadpool will eventually have to be cast at some point. Either it gets too old or get. Here's my what I think is gonna happen with Deadpool. I think once Ryan Reynolds stops doing it, and I think it's gonna be soon, that's it for that character. For a long time, I don't see. I think he's got that out of his system. He wants to go on and do other movies. that character may or may not fit in the new universe that's created after Secret Wars. I think you'll see him, and I almost said Endgame. I think you will see him in Doomsday and Secret Wars, but I think that's it. I never got the feeling that he wanted to do the character forever. I know he wanted to get a certain amount of movies made, but if he stops playing the character, then I don't know if audiences we're going to buy into anybody but him. Let's see. Oh yeah, Avatar will make $2 billion. I'm sort of excited about the X-Men, but I don't want them to rush it. I want them to lay out a long form plan, and I would rather see them start from scratch and actually tell the story of mutant kind and tell the story of why the X-Men are needed, who the X-Men are, and then branch off into the other stuff. I don't want to see a hot pocket where the first thing I see is every popular X-Men that's ever existed and every storyline that's ever existed. I want them to take their time with this because I think those are going to be the three pillars, the three foundations of Marvel Cinematic Universe going forward. They're going to be Fantastic Four, their Rogues Gallery, Spider-Man going forward, and his Rogues Gallery, and then X-Men in their Rogues Gallery. Do you think the abandoned Doctor Doom script might be used a little bit for Doom? It may, if they budgeted for its development. If the part of the development budget is what they spent on that could be true. Yeah, they could consolidate the script because it belongs to them. So yeah, they could if they saw something in there that they'd like, they could definitely go on for it. They will if long as the story and the narrative that's being told connects those solo movies overall. Because Marvel's not about doing solo movies like that. They want the money made in volume, or it's not worth it to them. But you could do Avengers Doomsday and still have you can have a solo movie or a solo movie that's not necessarily overwhelmed by Doomsday, but it's in the backdrop. You could take any one character and they could be doing their own thing for that particular time. But as long as you are telling that overall story arc, people will go see those movies. Not yet. I think it's too soon. Yeah, and I want to see Kingdom Come, not Kingdom Come Light. I don't want to see a modern day story, with him wearing, Kingdom Come as. I want to see, the older Clark Kent Superman dealing with the passage of time and the consequences of that. So, I'm with you. I would never say Star Wars is done. It could be in a better place, of course, but I don't think it's done. Since this is Sci-Fi Center, how do you think Star Wars can bounce back like MCU? By taking risk. I've always said this before. Everything that Star Wars has done has kept you in the Skywalker, neighborhood for the entire of its existence. Even when we're doing stuff that's not, Rebels and all this other stuff, you're still within that frame. You're still within that time frame. You're still within that environment. And it's no longer awe-inspiring for me. I want to see them go 4,000 years behind or 4,000, a couple thousand years, even 1,000 years ahead and create new stories. The thing is it's just, you have to make this new to a new generation. Luke, Leia, and Chewie was our generation, but it doesn't need to be the dominant thing. I think that the way they could bounce back is by coming to the conclusion that Star Wars is not just about the Skywalker family. There are some old fossil Star Wars fans that will differ and say that it is about the Star. That's okay for them. If you just want things to die on the vine, if you want to bring in brand new people that will give Star Wars a chance, it has to be new again. So no, I don't think Star Wars is done. They are. What are you talking about? They are. All those movies are Disney movies. Or they're all Marvel Studios movies, and Marvel owns all these IPs. They have the rights to Blade. They have the right to X-Men. They have the rights to Ghost Rider. Oh, weren't under Disney. I don't know. I like having them under the same umbrella. I don't know if he'll feature in Doomsday. I think he'll feature in Secret Wars because I think once the timeline is lined up, Apocalypse would have existed 5,000 years ago. So, hi Ray, how are you doing? Yeah, I think once Ryan Reynolds is done playing him, I think the character's done for a while. Yeah, Ryan Reynolds to his 90. Nah, I mean, there's always so much story to tell with I almost said Daredevil, Deadpool. WB destroying the Looney Tunes building. They are hating so much. Okay, guys, and I've seen this all day. It's not making money for them. I've been saying this even pre-Zaslav. As much as I grew up with Looney Tunes, Acme, Wile E. Coyote, all the mindless and senseless violence. It's part of my childhood too. But it's easy for fans to say to keep something going when it's not their money or investment being squandered or lost. This has nothing to do with Zaslav or the Warner Brothers Discovery. This has everything to do with that brand no longer being financially viable for Warner Brothers Discovery. Be honest with you, Warner Brothers, and period. This isn't a new thing. They should have curtailed this stuff decades ago. I'm not saying Looney Tunes needs to go away, but I'm thinking that if Warner Brothers it maintains the IP, and they should maintain the ownership of IP, it needs to be long-term licensed out to people with the infrastructure to do it without taking the hit. Otherwise, you're asking Warner Brothers to take that hit. And like I said, from the safety of your keyboards, it's easy to tell that guy, "Yeah, go ahead and do it. Go ahead and do it." When he gets fleeced and when he does, he takes millions of dollars in losses, we can hide behind the keyboard. That guy's got to go to a board meeting and figure out why are you still putting money into this. It's not an accident that 3 different ownership groups have not done anything with it. They need to sell it to an animation house, maybe Amazon, not sell it, but license the IP. And the only role Warner Brothers should have ever been playing in Looney Tunes the last 25 years as the IP holder and the distributor. They should not be in the business of making this stuff where they're at right now. And I know that's hard for fans to embrace, but you wouldn't do it. Would you do something that lost you money just because somebody wanted you to? Just flip the script and instead of being Zaslav or WBD, would you, if I came to you and said, you know what, I really want you to do this, but I think you're going to lose your ass on it, would you do it? No, you wouldn't. And as far as Looney Tunes being the legacy property, yeah, you know what? Back in the 90s, in the late 90s, when it was profitable, yeah, it's a legacy property, and it's always going to be part of Warner Brothers. But that be honest with you, that's the only reason why Looney Tunes projects really got greenlit is because it's part of their identity. They don't want to let go. But here's the thing: you are billions of dollars in debt. Those movies don't draw the audiences that you need to help get out of that. So you have to make business decisions, and it's like I said, nobody wants to hear that. But like I said, ask yourself, if just somebody came up to you and said, "Hey, so-and-so, I want you to do this," and you look at the math and it doesn't work for you, you'd be a fool to do it. You can't expect him to be that stupid. Unfortunately, when it comes to the Zaslav regime, other regimes didn't do what they needed to do in regards to lessening their liability to Warner Brothers. This should have been gone, or should have been under someone else's umbrella liability like 15, 16, 17 years ago. And it's unfortunate that because nobody had the balls to make that decision, we're in a decision now. Whoever does it is the enemy, and it's unfortunate. Let's see. I thought Acolyte was a flawed show, but I think all Disney Star Wars shows are flawed, and I enjoy most of them. So, no, because the story's not about them. If this was an X-Men movie, maybe, but I think this is a story with 9,000 characters in it. I think there's going to be too much to focus on. But imagine if Breaking Bad was canceled after the first season because people didn't watch it. That's what they did with the Acolyte. Yeah, and then you had a lot of just people's political stuff, and they the Cro-Mags wanted to attach a woke to everything. It really and I don't know how many people were watching it. I don't think nobody was watching it. It had some semi-respectable numbers, I guess. But do you like John Cena's meta whiny heel turn more interesting than a cool heel? I think this is fine. I like the unhinged John Cena heel. All right, so here's Brad. Hey.
Hey, everybody. So yeah, I was a little bit delayed getting on early times I told William about.
We're still with the Barney Rubble laptop today.
Yeah, like I said, made it a little bit harder to kind of set up for tonight, but hopefully I should be back to normal by everything we do this weekend with Batman v Superman and whatnot.
Yeah, because we're not going live, dude. If we won't go live. All right, let's see.
Brad Snyder. Okay.
I'm just going through these real quick.
Do I look like him or something?
We need Sci-Fi Center After Dark to get spicy subjects. Nah, I'm just not. I don't have those kind of conversations. I don't know. What do you mean by spicy?
Mm-hmm. Well, did we have before I came on? Were there any? I mean, because there wasn't like a whole lot of big news I saw today. Is there any big topics you were discussing?
No, I'm just going through these to fill my Thursday obligations. I think you're going to see him in it. Because he played a version. I think you're going to see all these characters in it, and
hopefully he fights. Hopefully he fights a giant scorpion.
Yeah, it makes more sense for him to be in a Marvel movie than that awful version of him that was in I just, like I said, that's the difference between a successful studio and DC at the time. You just do dumb stuff just to do it. It's just without any real
cameo
was garbage.
Awesome.
Was garbage.
Sorry,
once again, that's why DC Studios is where they're at and Marvel's where they're at. Marvel wouldn't do something that stupid. They haven't.
Yes, they would.
Everybody. No,
they 100%. Yes, they would. It was called Thor: Love and Thunder.
That you can't compare. That's an insult to common sense right there. You can't compare Thor: Love and Thunder.
The movie. Yes, the movie is an insult to common sense. I agree.
Yeah, but you're talking about every character that was in Love and Thunder actually had a legitimate reason for being there.
Yeah,
and we're in movies that were being made. See, here's the thing, guys.
The Cage Superman we would have better. Sorry, what?
Some fans thinking something is cool doesn't mean it's not stupid shit. All right? Just because any given individual thinks something is cool doesn't mean it wasn't stupid. All right? People do stupid shit all the time. Some guy, look at Jackass. He blows his nuts off with M80s or something. That's stupid. People thought it was cool. People thought it was cool, but that doesn't mean it wasn't stupid. Don't conflate the two. That was stupid. Yeah, some people thought it was cool, but that's why they're at where they're at, and this other thing is where it is. So there you go. If you among other things, with that kind of decision making, first of all, why we even got as far that costume. Anyway, let's bring up like relevant shit. Let's see how Amazon can make sense since they have a Cape Crusader. Well, Amazon can make sense. Anybody with Warner Brothers makes sense when it comes to Looney Tunes, because right now, any company that is not harmed by them. See, the problem with Warner Brothers is
they can make sense for what?
They're talking about Looney Tunes.
Okay.
But when you're talking about a company that has a wealth of money that's not in debt, that can take the liability, that can take the risk, that's what you need You need those people to license out Bugs Bunny, Elmer Fudd, and all these characters. Right now, Warner Brothers isn't the company to do that. So the best thing that they could do is be the distributor, but license it out to someone else who can afford to do it. Maybe someday, 15, 20 years from now, when Warner Brothers is completely recovered and they're in the red instead of billions of dollars in the black, and they actually find a viable audience for their Looney Tunes stuff that they can wait it out for, then maybe. But right now, it's not a good business decision to keep it going. Put it up. Don't sell the IP completely, but tell Amazon, tell Netflix, tell somebody, hey, we're not going to be doing anything with these IPs. Anything you give us is going to be profit for us, and just let it go from there. But under no circumstances should Warner Brothers or Warner Brothers Discovery have their hands in Looney Tunes right now. Their numbers, the company is just not healthy enough to have something like that doesn't draw what they needed to draw. Somebody else does. And I hope that's what happens with some of these. I mean, I'm not saying Ketchup will do it again. I'm talking about somebody who has multi billions that can actually, go all the way with it. If you want to do a feature length something like that, then you go and do it. Amazon can do that, without losing money. So it's just a different structure. And unfortunately, and especially when you're talking about you're making these movies and you're making these cartoons and these, you have royalties that got to be paid. So if nobody's watching your stuff, you're paying royalties, you're losing money. So I can't really expect the business to do that. It's an easy mistake. I think if they license out Looney Tunes to other companies like Netflix or Amazon, that's what they should be doing. I think in this day and age, relying too much on just blockbusters is going to be the downfall. The problem is that's where the money's at. When you define blockbuster, that's where your volume comes from. That's where that's where your biggest return comes from. Everybody says indie this, indie that, but that doesn't pay the bills in a way that the major studios, need to have it happen. Unfortunately, I mean, every time somebody says you guys got to, they should make more this type of movie, and then when they make that type of movie, nobody goes and sees it. That hurts the case. Brad's using cups and strings. No, cups and strings sound better. I'm sorry. Let's see. All right, glad to hear you're getting better. No, Marvel is in Disney because of what Marvel Studio was before that. They didn't make that purchase till after things got rolling. Marvel is where, as far as MCU goes, is where they are at because of Kevin Feige coming up through Fox, being producer and executive producer on it and being there watching this grow. And then when 2008 comes around, he knows what to do. He knows how to launch it. And that's what, I mean, if they had failed in their initial, launch, then there were, I don't think Disney spends that kind of money on them. I actually think Faces of Death is kind of stupid, actually, especially with some of it being fake. What's not fake is tasteless. So, because some of the stuff is real and stupid. So, but a lot of it is fake. Because when they were getting sued by it, they had to admit that a lot of that shit was fake. Oh, I don't know about that. Okay. I that would be a bold, controversial move if they ever did that. I'm not saying that they would not, but you're putting, like I said with James Gunn, you're putting your nuts on the table and saying, we're going to do this and we don't give a fuck about who feels, because that's controversial. That makes news. I don't know. We were talking about Magneto's nationality. If they did reset him and he's not World War II and he's not Jewish, we were coming up with a lot of different things. And remember, this was one of them. And I said at the time, that is a possibility. But wow, you're I don't know if art will do it because then the story becomes about that and not the character.
Yeah, yeah.
So I don't know if they would do that. So, but it's something that would definitely be on their table, and that would be, like I said, without giving my preference one way or another. That's a bold move.
He could also, when I thought if you now this would also, I don't think this would be like quite as much of a lightning rod, but I mean, if you're talking about like drawing from like military conflicts or what have you from like right now, they could make him Ukrainian. They could make him like Magneto from Ukraine.
You did the genocide is a genocidal nature of what went on in the Holocaust is what they do. If you did that, you're basically taking a position if you were to cast him as that character, as somebody whose people were oppressed, whereas Ukraine is still a country. It's still they're still fighting war. And they're still holding their ground. So, like I said, it's going to be controversial. It's going to, dude. If they were to do that, that's going to end some friendships right there. Because people don't know how to take the story.
Oh hell yeah! which is why I'm inclined to think they probably wouldn't do it.
Yeah, I don't think they'll touch that one. What if they sell to Catch Up Entertainment so that when Warner Brothers gets back on top, they buy? Nah, they would never do that. You would do. I mean, you could sell certain movies.
Oh
CJ,
God,
to them.
Droga. This scared the shit out of me. What he just sent me.
Okay.
I just jumped out of my skin what you just showed me, Droga. I'm sorry but he just DM'd me something.
You wouldn't. I don't think anybody would ever allow Looney Tunes to be sold outright. I think certain movies and certain projects maybe and licensing could do, but I don't think they'll reach that cliff yet. But no, because you're making an extra transaction and spending extra money when you can just keep the IP and have them license it. I really like the Warner Max name. So did I. I like that logo too.
Droga just sent me the most uncanny valley shit I've ever seen in my life.
I don't even know if I want to see it.
I'm pulling it up. This is like you guys.
I don't want to see it.
No, we're all gonna see this. Okay.
Droga, you're flirting with extinction, depending on what this is.
No, it's not.
Warning
porn.
you right now.
It's not porn. Don't worry about that. It's like you think it's gonna get kicked off, but this is like.
I'm hovering. My mouse is hovering over your name right now.
I saw this. I'm like, holy shit! What the hell am I looking at? And I'm a fan of this man. Look. Oh man, you just gave me nightmares tonight, Droga. This is so uncanny valley. This is like, I saw that and my heart.
Jason does this with
my heart just skipped a beat. Yeah, and look, it looks like everybody else agrees. That's like this is the uncanniest of uncanny valleys. If we ever have Zach on the show, I will not, under any circumstances, allow him to see this.
That should be your avatar.
I'm taking this off right now.
No, they don't. Not really. They don't make enough. The volume is not there. I mean, you have some movies that call them. I mean, A24, is that really an indie? I mean, they're huge now. I mean, I got to see some math where indies are keeping theaters afloat. When you go to CinemaCon and the theaters and NATO are there, they're not going there for indies. They're going there because they want to see what blockbusters that the movies have going, because that's what the volume comes from. Because that's where your popcorn sales, your candy sales, all that happens. I would have to see some math to see indies, because I don't know of any theater. I mean, that is sitting around waiting for an indie. And this is not to knock indie, but when your margins are, you get 35%, and your margins is you have to bring in volume. You have to bring in. So in order for me to make that markup for that popcorn that costs them very little to make in the soda and all that, you have to have a lot of people coming per screening. I don't know if indie movies bring in that volume to the point where they can make their high markup. If you got different stats that I've seen, and I like I said, we talk to theaters all the time, because we partner up with certain theaters to do what we do. And I've never heard them say that they're waiting for an indie. They'll show them, of course, but I don't think, I've never seen any evidence that indies are going to hold up. I mean, these theater owners are waiting for Jurassic Park. They're waiting for Superman. They're waiting for Fantastic Four. They're waiting for, Fast and the Furious, those type of movies. I mean, along with the indies. But if you took the blockbusters out, I don't think the theaters could survive. But once again, CGA, if you got, dude, you can message me if there's charts and stuff that say otherwise. I've just never, in my experience, I've never seen it that way. They don't have the time. Right now, most of these theaters are on the verge of disappearing. Some of these studios are on the verge of disappearing. Some of them would already be gone if they hadn't been bought out. Like Paramount was on the verge of disappearing before Skydance did their transaction. So, I mean, this sounds cool, but, you know, what pays the rent now? You know what I mean? It's cool to say, you know, I would love to, you know, focus on this or that. And then, you know, you have overhead to take care of. I mean, is what you guys are saying going to take care of their overhead? So, why do small indie films that cost $5 to $10 million that gross $1 million not consider a plot? Because there's no expectation for most of them. Most of the time, when you have a small movie like that, there's really no expectation. I mean, it's still a loss, but when you're, you know, the expectation for some of these, most of these things people have never heard of. Because they didn't spend a lot on advertising. There isn't anything on advertisement. So, and a lot of those movies will make their way to some type of streaming service where they'll get a little bit of their money back. But for the most part, they knew when you're making a movie like that, you prepare your balls to take the kick. Whereas a blockbuster that you know, when you're spending 50, 60, 70 and 80 and 90 and you only make 20, like Snow White, and which will probably get some money back on PVOD. But when you're Snow White and you spent a certain amount and you only make this amount, the expectations for a movie like that are much higher than they are for an indie. That's what I think, at least. I'm assuming you're saying young people aren't being groomed. I could sort of agree, but once again, you have to realize the desperate nature, of where the theaters are at and the studios are at now. I mean, that's something down the line. Some of these chains are on the verge of going out of business today. They need to do things that are going to get them, instant, rewards. Unfortunately, they can't really afford to put those seeds in the ground. They may not be there when the tree sprouts, Marvel brand didn't start making bank till Avengers. That's true, but you didn't just instantly pop up out of nowhere without that. The credibility that goes all the way back to the Fox era groomed that and helped them get there. The reason why Marvel Studios had credibility is because most of the Marvel movies that were released prior to its existence were good and they still had that label. And then you come in with Feige, who came from that, and you had 3 or 4 years of them establishing credibility. Avengers, the original Avengers, making what it did was a culmination of all that. Yeah, and that's another thing that might be. I mean, TikTok and YouTube, that's bitten into TV audiences too, and TV is free for the most part. So, I don't think it's whether they would rather. I think it's necessity. It's necessity. You have to do it to make you, you have to grab the nearest bag of money, and to keep yourself open. Who knows? Maybe they got to come up with different ideas. Pass. Pass. That there was one good one of those, and then the
first one I thought wasn't bad, and the second one I barely remember, and
that's kind of like what I put that. I'm sorry, but I put that in the Scream franchise area.
I mean, they really should. I mean, come on, they missed the perfect title here. I know what you did 28 summers ago.
Yeah, but so yeah, pass on that one. Sorry, guy. I wish I could have seen Superman Lives. I'm grateful that it didn't happen. The greatest thing that came out of that was the John Snow documentary, which is a great documentary. And the more I watched that documentary, I dropped down to my knees.
Listen, guys, go watch that documentary. That has some awesome Brainiac art, concept art.
Yeah,
that's where I look at that and think like, no, I would have wanted to see this.
And thank God that movie didn't get made. I think it would have been a disaster for all involved.
Well, it doesn't matter because it's like it has been canonized within the DC multiverse.
Not really. Sure.
It's like it's in the Chronoball.
Yeah, so what?
It's there.
You can wipe out that Cronenball in the next movie.
Well, they didn't, so it's still there.
I don't know what your obsession is with bringing this movie up over and over again. It sucked.
I didn't bring it up. It was
It-
Droga,
it-
but no,
yeah.
that was my favorite cameo in the Flash. Was the Nick Cage Superman fighting the giant spider?
Were you drunk or inebriated?
No, I've gone like
You
I've
realize
gone sober.
this opinion could hurt your journalist's credibility because people are going to think you're snorting cane.
No, I may actually, now I might pitch this now. It's like, that Nick Cage, Tim Burton Superman movie, that actually might not have been bad. I might do that.
That would have been an unmitigated fucking disaster. But hey, you guys have fun with your could have beens. That's where you go. But listen, I'm not disputing any of this, Forth, but you're talking about people who need money now. They need revenue now. They need mass volume now. What you're talking about is a theory they can't afford to wait for, unfortunately. Maybe somewhere down the line, of course. Let's be bold. Let's be controversial. Let's do it. But at the same time, you got to pay your overhead. You got to pay your bills. And they have to do things that bring in the volume. I can see where you're coming from, but the financial reality of it is that's not where most of these studios are at right now. Daniel Martin, nice to see you again. All the smaller films have no chance at the theater. They have to be made absolutely for nothing. Streaming has become the home. And you know what? Here's the thing about the streaming. Without streaming, a lot of these indie movies wouldn't even get made. And even some of the ones that do get theater run, they wouldn't. The justification for them being made is we won't lose both of our ass cheeks on this. We can make a little bit of money on the back end of PVOD and at festivals. So it's kind of like it feeds itself. But and it's unfortunate because there are some really good independent movies out there, but it's just not enough to drive theater chains to be able to rely on them. Okay, these guys are creepy. Brighter. Yeah, definitely. I've been saying this for years. I get made fun of and I get lumped into categories when I say this, but yeah, it's a business. It's a transaction. Anytime somebody tells you, they say never or you're delusional or something when there's a transaction involved, you need to get those people out of your life or at least out of your conversation. Whenever there's money to be made or a transaction to be had, there is no such word as never. There's no such word as never. This is business. These are commodities. And if DC, and like I said, and we've discussed this before, it depends. So let's just say for argument's sake, and I don't think this is going to be the case. Say if Superman just bombs, it just sucks. It loses money. And I don't think that's going to be the case. But let's just say it doesn't. And the powers that be don't see the path that has been charted as something that they want to follow. But they don't want to invest any more money into it. I think that's something that they could do. What do I think the likelihoods of that are slim? Because it would take several things failing, and I don't think they're all going to fail. Even if one of them is not that good, I don't think there's going to be something else that's not good enough to really grab it. The entirety of the MCU wasn't great, but there are enough things in there to keep people coming. So, but I've said this for years that WB could license. I still think that's the case, and I don't think that's a James Gunn thing. If somebody came to the DC head honcho and offered them a substantial amount of money to license something, they're in business to make money and make up debt.
Imagine if that's what Gunn and Zach talked about when they took that picture.
I mean, it can happen, but you'll get the side of the fandom, and you'll get the side of YouTube and internet that wants to piss on people who ever bring up this as a possibility. I can't hold conversations with those guys. Like I said, if you're in a conversation,
we've been on streams with some of them.
Yeah, and if you're in a conversation and there's a possible transaction that could potentially be made, and they say that'll never happen and you're stupid for thinking, you need to change the subject because you are no longer engaged with somebody that you need to be talking that kind of, they can't comprehend that. You can now debate on the odds of something like that happen until the cows come home. But to say never is ignorant, and that is not consistent with people who come together. People who come together and make these transactions aren't fanboys. They're not YouTubers. They're executives with accountants. So yes, to answer your question, Captain Carrizo, there you go. Fourth, they will disappear if they only focus on the next generation and go, my kids never go to see a movie. Well, once again, you're asking them to take a risk on your theory while they're trying to keep the lights on. It's
it's interesting you should mention that too, because last time I was what did I see last time? It would have been Snow White, or no, No, it would have been actually for Ash. Because William, I don't know if you'd see get a chance to see Ash. Did you? Is that guy, that Flying Lotus guy, did that sci-fi horror movie?
Mm-mm.
Which it's had like a limited. It's something that Shutter did, but that's had a limited theater run. I went and checked it out on Sunday because I had a feeling it was going to be kind of here today, gone tomorrow, and you'll be on Shutter soon. And it had a dude from The Raid in it, so that definitely incentivized me. Even though he's it doesn't really have a whole lot of Silat or martial arts in it, but so I was looking down at my AMC app because again I've been telling you guys, like this has been on my mind for a while now. It's like I could just sense I am not in the theater with the regularity that I used to be.
Oh, same here.
And like even for tonight, it's like, I mean, this weekend, my big thing, I went is the Working Man. I know William wants to as well. It's like he's, I'll probably see it before he does from the sound of it.
Yeah, you're definitely gonna see it before I do. Which is sad. Here's the thing, guys, and when we talk about these movies like this, we're talking like now the last couple of movies I've wanted to see. And guys like me are hurting the box office. I wanted to see Mickey 17. I didn't have time. I'm going to see it. I mean, we're going to do a watch party eventually in a couple of days for it, maybe on Sunday. I want to see Working. I really want to see Working Man. But man, Friday and Saturday for me, I'm at that damn center 14 hours a day. Those are my two busiest days of the week. I have people coming into the center literally 1 o'clock. One of my main guys, Dennis, one day, and I think I was on the air. It was 12:31. I'm about to wrap up the show. Dennis comes in because that's where his work schedule goes. I got people, with events, and there's good restaurants around us. They see that Green Lantern because I have a big giant Green Lantern sign that you can see from everywhere, and they see it and they come up. And that's and especially when it's hot, I won't get no business during the day, but later at night I'll get a business. So my schedule is kind of wonky that way, especially on the traditional movie going days. And then when I'm just doing so much prep, and then we do the show, so. I'm horrible for box office, and I want to go see your movies.
And William does on Saturday night certainly, and he does the show from the store.
Yeah.
So and then for me, it's like between, because with the dojo, I'm in there either for my own classes or once I'm helping it, I'm there from 3 to 9 Monday through Thursday. It's a little bit different on Friday and Saturday, but it's a little bit shorter. Yeah, like Thursday night shows, I just can't get out of those like I could anymore. Between it's like I'm there until 9 on Thursdays, and my theater, they just don't do shows like later than like 9 o'clock. So and they didn't do the latest one they have for Working Man tonight was 6:45. So I was gonna make that. So I'm gonna try to tomorrow night at the 9 o'clock show. But anyway, bring it back to my original point. I just looked down at my AMC app because that's I'm on the A list. And that's how I usually get my ticket when I go in. I was looking down at it, and the thing about it is it'll show you like since you've been a member, like you can go back to I've been a member since 2018. I can go back and like see every time I use my AMC list to to buy a ticket to go in to see something. And this year, it's like comparing it to last year's, I have probably been in the theater about 1/3 the amount of time I would have been in a pre-COVID year or in a pre COVID change effect taking place kind of year. Like this time I kind of did extrapolated it, compare it to the other previous years it was listing. It's like, yeah, this year I was seeing something in the theater. I was in there with 3 times the regularity that I had been this year. And that is, again,
mine's going to be even less. That's not that mean I'm watching it, because, like I said, I will do the PVOD thing. I will rent a movie. I don't mind as long as I get to see the movie. Do I want to see that? There are certain movies that I can't, like Dune Part 2 thing. There are certain movies I will make time for because I cannot see them on even my giant TV that I have here. I can't. There's just no way. In the sound, I don't have the sound quality. All right, John Snap did a terrific job. Yes, he did. Rest in peace.
Yeah, and he, like you said, also he kind of got screwed out of the profits on that too for all the piracy that happened to it.
Yeah, that's why when people pirate stuff, they don't think that I hate pirates. To be honest with you, and I'll just watch it for free. I'll just download it for free. Same fucking people that are saying, "Well, how come we don't get this made? And how come this doesn't get made? How come we never got a sequel to that?" You know what? There you go. Live documentary, and one of the few people to ever get Tim Burton to talk about it in an interview. You know what? There's a lot of reasons Tim Burton doesn't want to talk about that movie in an interview, but yeah, he didn't. That like I said, the only good thing for me to come out of that whole debacle is that documentary, and I wish he would have got his. I wish he would have got his praise, and I wish he would have made the money. But I hear John Campea talking about it all the time about how that really. He never said it specifically caused his stroke, but the anguish that he went over there didn't help it. The fact that he saw so many people pirating a thing that he put years into that.
So, well, yeah, because I mean, doing all the research, arranging all the interviews, yeah. So I definitely feel for him on that.
I know people who spend years and years and years just getting scenes from. Like I told you before, we have our screening room, and people will use our screening room to show bits and pieces of the movie they made, so that they can get investors that they've invited to say, "Hey, here's where I'm at now. Help me get finished." I've done that a lot of times, so I understand what he went through, and it sucks. I mean, I wish he would have. I wish people would have treated that property. I wish people would understand the end game. And I know a lot of people, the consumers, they're entitled for something for free, but it costs somebody something to make it. People put their ass on the line. People get out loans. They max their credit cards out to get some of these things done. They put themselves in debt.
Like at that level, yeah, because you're not, you don't have like $100 million behind you.
Yeah, just for some jackass to pirate it, so that's kind of sad. 24/7 cinemas, dude, we don't even have those in Vegas. I mean, we don't even have them. Vegas is a 24. We should, Vegas, they don't want to be. Now, we'll have midnight showings and stuff, and we'll have late showings, but it used to be, man, these casinos, because they wanted somewhere for the people who weren't gambling to go while they fleeced the person who was gambling. No, we don't, because I paid for it.
Yeah.
I paid for Disney Plus. Now if I were downloading everything, if we're downloading it, distributing it, but I paid for it. It's and we only got how many people watching our show?
Oh, we have good turnouts.
We have good turnouts, but it's not
like we did with Zack Snyder's Justice League. I mean, we had a hell of a every time that has a huge audience.
Yeah, and I've done watch parties where there are certain streamers you don't have to you could as long as you had the anchor tenant, somebody else could come in. And so as far as Twitch goes, I don't think that really could. If it is, you know what, we'll stop doing it. How about that?
Yeah, Aaron. Yeah, I really thought these were going to make a comeback. During COVID.
Nah, weather's too much. But real quick to go back to what he was saying. There's also a huge difference between Disney Plus and like HBO Max. HBO counted on people to pirate Game of Thrones. It was a badge of pride. They figured there were so many people that were honestly and legitimately watching it, didn't bother them. Same thing with Disney Plus. When you're talking about John Snepp that has maybe $500,000, I don't think it's the same.
when you're a project at that level with like that kind of budget, that kind of audience, and it's like, I mean, they work it into their algorithm when they work in piracy as an indicator of popularity into their algorithm, because I think it's like you said with Game of Thrones, like it's like, oh, we're the most pirated show. It's like that's literally part of the marketing,
But they still made profit off of subscriptions, whereas Snepp, there wasn't enough volume for an indie guy like that. There's no way he could absorb that loss. Let's see. Ooh, wow, did I catch up on the chat? Oh, well, hey, there we go. Yeah, a lot of the things that I never thought the drive-in was going to pick up again. I thought while COVID was happening, yes.
I thought at least, like as an interim kind of thing, because I mean, you would think like the studios would be, really pushing that.
Well, they do, but the thing is, it's experiences, drive-ins are for a certain type of customer. But a certain type of circumstance, and COVID was it, but your sound quality is not the same, your visual quality is not the same, and like if you're in Vegas, oof, plus I've done them. I've done my own drive-ins out here, and there was a time when they did well. There's certain movies that are cool to see, like 50s movies, Star Wars Day, we do them like that. But as far as like the regular run-of-the-mills, they're still around. They're still somewhat profitable. It's just not. If I have the opportunity and I can go to a movie theater or a drive-in, I'm going to the movie theater. Let's see, too many streaming services. I got them all.
Yeah, I do too. One again, like I said, look at that. Just looking at that app. I mean, I just did it like on a whim because I've said like anecdotally on here. It's like but I mean, it wasn't really anecdotal because it's like I know my own routine better than anybody. It's like, and I know it's like, yeah, I am in the theater in the last year and a half substantially less than I would have been pre-COVID or what have you. And yeah, just look down at that app, man. It's like I am. It's I don't know how I describe it. I mean, it's definitely a byproduct of the COVID era. There's some life and work changes that have played into that too. But there's again when I say COVID is an offshoot, it's like for me, it's like my areas. Thursday nights they just don't play the Thursday night shows. I mean, they'll start them early. I mean, sometimes if it's really big, they'll start them as early as like 3 o'clock in the afternoon. But they just don't do them after 9 o'clock, and that's when the earliest I can usually get out to a movie is on 9 o'clock. And I mean, I still occasionally manage it if they have like a 9 or 9:30 showtime, but they never a working man. So I mean, that kind of annoyed me, like seeing like Film Junkie post his reaction to Working Man. It's like, oh shit, I gotta just wait till tomorrow. But yeah, it's just been undeniable. Like in these last couple of years, like it's not like a conscious choice. It's just these multiple factors snowball together, and you just realize you're at and also the thing to consider with that too. It's like I'm not married, I don't have kids, and so if that's how my theater like attendance regularity has changed. Imagine that for somebody who is married, has kids, has a job, to support the family, or has that obligations, has this, that, and whatever. And like, how's that? How has their theater, kind of regularity changed?
Yeah, started buying concessions regularly now. Yeah, that's where they make their money off of. They don't make any really money off of the actual, that's not where they make their money. Like I said, that $7 soda, that popcorn, the popcorn buckets that, you see me, dude, every time I have gone, I'm getting me a popcorn bucket if there's one out there, unless I don't like the movie. Like I wouldn't go get a Snow White popcorn bucket because I don't care about the movie. But if it's, when we go see the Hulk, when we go with Captain America, I got several.
What do you, speaking of Snow White, like, what are your thoughts on like that, because there's been a lot of like editorializing on like it's underperformance, and I mean definitely Rachel Zegler seems to be kind of like, at least at the studio level, kind of shouldering most of the blame that is kind of getting thrown her way.
I've heard some of the stuff about the movie, and I think lesser of the people than I do of the movie, because I've heard the same stupid shit. Just insert movie here. I am always going to turn a deaf ear to the pre-burying of movies. It always bothers me, and it doesn't really matter what the movie is. I was never going to go see this movie because I'm not big into that kind of Disney, but I knew it was, at a certain point, you started to see that it was going to struggle because the shovels were already out. The fucking movie wasn't even done, and the shovels were already out, and everybody has their virtue reason. Well, they should have this and that, and like I said, I hear the same people talking about some of the movies I like, and I've gone and seen them. And that's why I always say, you let these fucking internet talking heads think for you. That is not the purpose of why I even do a show. I am giving you my opinion, but I'm also, giving you enough credit that you have more than one brain cell and you'll form your own. I'm not here to change your mind. And I think that's what happens with these movies, is that the momentum starts to build up and people just want to jump on that train and they don't even care where it's going on. And that's not just with Snow White. That's what a lot of movies, and I brought it up over and over again. If a movie, once that momentum goes, it's really hard to outmaneuver that. You're trying to market a movie while you got people on there for their own goofy reasons, burying a movie that they haven't even seen and probably will never see. So when I hear the stuff about Snow White, I pretty much ignore it. It would be different if I was ever going to go see the movie, but guess what? I've heard this song and dance before. Only the names and faces have been changed to protect the innocent. So.
Aaron says, I have to sneak food in when I go and see a movie because I can't afford the food they sell anymore because of inflation. Yeah, I'm sure that's the case for a lot of people.
Yeah, and here's the thing, though. I understand that, but inflation affects them too. Inflation affects the theater too. So everything has gone up for them. So when you guys do that, that's why these chains are struggling. You're bringing in the thing that actually allows them to stay open. That popcorn, that hot dog, that giant pretzel that's as big as my intestines, that is what keeps them open. And the prices are there for a reason, because that's where they make their money. That's why it's so important to have the volume. They only get 35% of the ticket. That's not a lot. That's not going to keep anything open. So when people, and I understand, I'm not, calling anybody out, but when you do that, understand that where that math ends up. So I've always said if I can afford to have the full movie experience, I'm just going to stay home. If I want food, if I can't afford to buy it there at the theater, either don't buy it outright or I stay home. I'm not gonna, because I know theater people. I know people who who manage theaters. I know what they're going through, and I know how that affects them. So I just don't do it. I'd rather stay home, and watch it. But if it's a movie like a Dune or something like that, I'm going to get the popcorn. I'm gonna go get the bucket. I'm gonna do that. And if I can't afford to do that, I'm just gonna have to pass on it, because we want these theaters in the box office to stick around, but we don't want to. You don't want to do the thing, you know what I mean? And I could see it the other way too, but it's like, damn, I've seen the math. I've seen the math when I'm negotiating theater rentals and stuff like that. I've seen the math, and the reason why I have to pay a certain amount that I pay is because of all these factors. So I understand, but yeah, it's tough. Yeah, I usually buy a drink. A lot of the times when I'm doing movie promotion, somebody will buy one for me, which is cool. Everybody I get into a movie theater.
Aaron says my cinemas sell pretzels or hot dogs. I buy the shit out of them.
Yeah, pretzels. I got to get pretzels. Some, not all pretzels are equal.
I kind of go. I'll occasionally get popcorn, but if I'm getting food, usually it's a hot dog. But my main thing is usually I just get a drink.
All right, I think that's it. No, we're not opening the panel.
Mm-hmm. And we're not. We're certainly. If you're not going to bring more Uncanny Valley like Zack Snyder's face on Brad's head pictures.
All right, guys. So I will more than likely not be on the air tomorrow. Unless I get a burst of energy. But like I said, I will take some time to do some YouTube stuff. But the majority of what I do tomorrow is getting ready, because now we are closing in on the most important day of the year for me. May 3rd, 2025. That is Free Comic Book Day. That is a huge day for the center. It is a huge opportunity. It's the best sales day of the year for me. It's the best traffic day of the year for me, and it's the best customer growth day of the year for me. So we do growth and all that throughout the year, but this is that day where I get them all. And I want this year, I've gone all out. I got every tier of free comics that are coming out, and I got a lot of them. I got other stuff that we're going to be giving away, and some signed stuff that I'm going to be giving away, raffle tickets, tickets to Thunderbolts. I'm going all out, and then the next day is May 4th, and I have Star Wars Day. So it's a big weekend coming up for me. No, I do not. I don't. That's my opinion. I don't have anything else to base it on. I don't think just because you see some X-Men on the screen that they're doing Avengers versus X-Men, nobody is answering my question of how this makes any sense, because it doesn't. The overall story that they're telling has nothing to do with Avengers versus X-Men. The majority of the Fox characters that were available are X-Men, but that we have probably about, I'm going to guess about 13 or 14 minimum more characters to be revealed. So I don't see Avengers. I don't see Avengers versus X-Men happening, to be honest with you. Where are we going with it? I mean, if Doctor Doom is your primary villain, he doesn't have to take exclusively X-Men to pose them against the mainline universe people. He can, like I said last night, there can literally be characters that exist in the Marvel universe that have not been on a big screen or a small screen before, that are legitimate characters that exist in the comics. He can have an entire army of them. So I have not seen anything that would indicate Avengers versus X-Men, and I don't see with the storyline that we know of lines up, and it would be like a sub-story. Same reason we're not going to see World War Hulk anytime soon, because that's not that you need time and build up for that, and you need real estate to tell that story. You don't want to shove something like that into an overarching story that you're already telling. The story is Doom, and what he's doing, on a cosmic level with the multiverse. So I would expect those characters to be related to that. But I don't, could be wrong, but I don't see Avengers versus X-Men. Anything I saw. Let's see. Ignoring. Steven Ortega, Sci-Fi Vegas next week. I will be busy with CinemaCon. Are you going now? Nah, I didn't even fill out a press thing this year. I filled one out last year, and I didn't even get it. I don't even think I got an email back. I think it might have went into spam. I'm not. You can go, but it's just like $1,100. But no, I didn't even fill out. And plus, like I said, I with so many things coming up, there's only about 2% of everything that they're doing there that I want to see. And that's not even worth me being there for free. But you have fun, because if you might be a cinephile, if you're a cinephile, I mean, I heard the candy and thing, the expo, they got like a big food expo that you just go down and eat free food. I heard that's pretty cool. Campia talks about that all the time. But yeah, not me this year. My priority convention for me this year is San Diego Comic-Con, WrestleCon, which I'll be at all 3 days, and the Star Trek convention. So there we go. And that's about it. You know, we just spoke about the time I don't have to go to see the movie. I definitely don't have time to do a lot of that stuff. So the X-Men is too big for characters to include to not make them. Yeah, they will. Oh, definitely. I think they're going to be part of the foundation of this new universe happening. I just don't think it's going to happen now in this movie or these next 2 movies. That's what all right. I think that's it. Thank you for the 35 of you who are watching. Please like, subscribe, and if you are watching on X, Twitter, or whatever he wants to call it these days, who knows if that'll stay the same? You can go over and watch us on the mothership here. There you go. That is the URL, youtube.com/at the Sci-Fi Center. Just Google the Sci-Fi Center. You find it that way too. So that is it for the night. We'll not see you tomorrow night. We'll definitely see. Why would I do that? I can't. I mean, they take down videos that I put up, and I'm promoting their movies. What was I saying? Damn. Okay, yeah. Saturday, we have a lot planned for Saturday, so keep your eye on the alert bell. And once those events come up, spread the word. Especially for the charity event. If you cannot donate, please put the event in front of somebody who possibly can. And who knows, maybe they'll put it in front of 2 or 3 people and we'll hit our number. Right now, we are $3,800 away from 20,000. So let's hope we can get a little bit closer there, because we didn't move 1 inch for Zack Snyder's Justice League. So, all right, guys, have a nice Friday morning, Friday afternoon, Friday evening, and I will definitely see you on Saturday. I may surprise you on Friday, but doubt it. See you later.